This is not a good one. You see, I just received this email now from DHL and I decided to print it out because definitely I'm going to be touching on this point. It's still a developing story, at least for me. Perhaps you must have heard about it. But sometimes I say to myself, the time you think you have seen everything, boom, from nowhere, something else comes in, to remind you that, look, you haven't seen everything that you thought you have seen. Just a few days ago, I was actually chatting, on a live by a reseller by the name Hardwareflipper. I was just, writing on the chat and asking, do you think it makes sense to send items to the US? This was just a one-off question. Typically, I only sell my items here within Europe. I do not send to the US, but I wanted to ask a question to see his own perspective. And I just asked, do you think it makes sense to send electronics components, via DHL to the US? So the question I put in, and then today I received, this email. Apparently on the 30th of July, 2025, the US government issued an executive order, suspending duty-free, otherwise called de minimis treatment for all countries. Yes, kind of a big vocabulary there, but long story short, all countries are no longer going to enjoy duty-free shipment to the US. This is kind of new because this wasn't expected, at least for me. I used to think that, look, when you send items from here, perhaps you sell on eBay and somebody buys your stuff, you send it, definitely there are some items that qualify, for duty-free, shipment. Basically, items below 800 US dollars. So let's say I'm shipping these scissors, for example, from Germany to US. There is no reason for one to pay duty on this kind of item. And this is just a way to foster, business relationship between this country. But according to this email, which I received pretty much, today, I wouldn't know when it came. Yes, 2:48. DHL sent me this and said on the 30th of July, 2025, the US government actually did issue an executive order suspending duty-free de minimis treatment for all countries. And what that means is that starting from August 29th, 2025, all commercial shipments to the US will be subject to import duties, even low-value shipments that previously enjoyed, duty-free allowance. That is kind of mind-boggling to imagine that even low items like a screwdriver like this that used to normally enjoy duty-free allowance, you now have to pay, duty on this kind of item. This is not encouraging. Like I said, this is not a particularly good news, but this is the direction that we have to go. Definitely something is going on. I'm going to be digging deeper into this to actually know why this is coming, because there is no way this is going to foster business relationship. There is no way this is going to encourage even people to buy across borders. Of course, eBay has a program that makes it possible for you living in the US to buy things from Europe or to buy things from other continents. But right now, if this is the case, if I have to pay duty on an item like this, there's just no way if I live in the US, could be encouraged to buy this from a seller that's selling this item on eBay in any of the European countries and vice versa. Because if the US is going to say, look, you have to pay duty on items like this, definitely I want to imagine that the European government is going to also come around and reciprocate that kind of gesture, which is any item coming from the US is also going to suffer, the same fate. The US authorities are working out a new procedure. So right now, DHL is even saying that, look, we are going to ship items, until the 25th of August, and after which we're going to suspend all shipments of goods to the United States. That is definitely a bad news. And not only to the United States, also to Puerto Rico via all postal channels. So DHL Packet International will not be sending, Variant Post International, which is a service that we also use here to ship locally. They're not going to be sending any goods to the United States. So if somebody were to buy this, this mouse from my shop, anything after 25th of August, that item is going to be returned back. It's not going to be sent out. Even if I try to send it and the package shop takes this item from my hand, at some point during the shipment of this mouse, across the shores of Germany, it's going to be returned back to me. So be aware, if you send items to the US, especially goods, this might be a time for you to go to your shop and make some changes. Definitely, eBay is going to communicate this to us, because I want to believe that this is a very, very major change. Shipments can still be sent until August 25th under the old rules. And the old rules in this case is that, look, items, low value items up to $800 actually does qualify, for duty-free shipment. And that's the old rule. And anything handed after the 26th of August will be returned. As a matter of fact, DHL wrote that in bold. There's no, discussion about that. It's going to be returned because right now there is no procedure, for these goods to be handled. Nobody knows what the duty is going to be. Everything is just at a standstill. And it goes on to say that the suspension does not affect shipment of documents in letters. As a matter of fact, if you still send letters right now, using DHL to the US, it's going to go normally. But the thing is, if you send any goods using DHL packet, using Variant Post International, it's not going to fly, But if you send letters, even after the 25th of August, this is going to go, normally. Additional note, it says, other postal operations in Europe, PostNord, Bbot, OPAD are all taking similar measures. So it's not just, a German thing, it's Europe-wide. And the postal operators are actually saying, look, we are also going to do the same until a new procedure is not given to us on black and white. We're going to suspend shipment. It is going to break definitely a lot of stuff. If you sell across the borders of Europe, for example, you sell your items to the US, it's going to be a different ball game. It's not just going to be business as usual this month of August and perhaps in September until the new procedure is not handed over to the, to the postal operators. If this delays into the Yuletide, then it has the capacity to really spoil a lot of things because a lot of companies actually does wait for the sales, in December, in the Christmas seasons up to early January, New Year celebrations to actually make a lot of sales. But if they are not going to be shipments, if the postal operators are saying there's nothing you can do about it, the US government is to blame for this. If they are saying that, look, we are not going to take any packets, there is pretty much nothing you can do. And if the US government even comes around to say, look, you have to pay duty on the smallest item that you ship to us, then this is not a good thing. The Industry Association, Post Europe, has already informed members about this coordinated approach. So definitely, this is not the last that we're going to be hearing about this. Like I said, I'm going to follow up on this and definitely going to be reporting back to you guys as soon as I find something that might be very, very interesting. So be aware that at the end of August 2025, you can no longer send goods to the US via regular postal service until a new custom process are in place. Guys, this is not a good time for e-commerce. It's not a good time, that decisions like this should be coming, into effect. We are currently going through the summer slowdown. Things are kind of tight right now. People are complaining. In my shop, even though I do not ship to the US, even though I just concentrate my effort here shipping locally, things have not been as rosy as it used to be. But to bring something like this, to say that items are going to be taxed, whatever it's called, or that the DHL service, which is the service that I pretty much use, or its European counterparts, saying that, look, until a new procedure is not put in place, we are not going to ship items to the US. That is not a good development. Hopefully, this is going to be resolved as soon as possible. A new procedure that will favor us as sellers because, come to think of it, the profit of some of these items are not so much. And from the buyer on the other side, nobody wants to pay double the price for an item that can easily be, bought locally. This is the situation we have found ourselves. Hopefully, I am going to think that this is going to be sorted out soon. There's definitely going to be some items that will naturally qualify, for duty-free shipment. But until that is communicated to us, we do not know what's going on. If you know anything, I want to encourage you, go to the comment section. Please leave me a comment. Let us get this conversation going. And to put it in context, today is the 28th of August, 2025. Until I see you again in the next one, peace.